Aaron, a pastry chef, is abruptly fired from the bakery he's known all his life, blamed for poor sales by the new owners. Forced to sign a contract never to bake again, Aaron's future looks grim until a rival bakery offers him a new opportunity. The competition heats up as the rival shop opens next door, and soon enough, Aaron's old boss is begging him to return. "Can you pay me 25 times my salary?" Aaron's reply is bold, but what happens next will leave you speechless. Don't miss this high-stakes bakery showdown. You're fired for zero sales. I'm a pastry chef at a popular local bakery. The previous owner really took a liking to me. But then, out of nowhere, the owner disappeared. After that, the owner's wife took over. She and the new owner have always had it out for me, blaming me for the poor sales. They kicked me out of the bakery I worked at for years. On top of that, they demanded I sign a contract promising not to bake pastries elsewhere. But then, the owner of a rival bakery headhunted me, and I switched jobs. The rival bakery set up shop right next to my old workplace, a bold move. The next day, the new owner, who had given me so much trouble, begged me to come back. I replied, "Can you pay me 25 times my salary?" And the result was, my name is Aaron Davis, a 45-year-old pastry chef. I worked at Sugar and Sweet Bakery, a well-loved, long-established bakery in this town. Actually, I grew up in this bakery. My mother was a live-in housekeeper there. From what I heard, it was about 40 years ago. My mother, with nowhere to go, passed by the bakery with me as a little child. She was a single mother. She never told me the details, but there must have been a lot going on. Anyway, it was Garden, the previous owner, who took us in. If you're in trouble, why not help out here? With Gordon's offer, my mother decided to stay at the bakery. She became a live-in housekeeper, managing the kitchen. It was typical of Garden to take in a struggling woman with a child. My mother was diligent and meticulous, quickly endearing herself to everyone at the bakery. She took on various tasks, from cleaning in the morning to helping with pastry preparations. That's how I developed an interest in the world of pastries from a young age. Garden was a talented pastry chef. He was greatly favored by the owner of the prestigious bakery, where he worked in his youth. When he decided to go independent, the owner asked him to marry his daughter, Lisa, and he opened his own bakery, Sugar and Sweet Bakery. They struggled to have children for a long time, but eventually had a son named Anthony. Garden created two popular pastries, the chocolate chip cookies and the pecan pie. The chocolate chip cookies were delicious treats with plenty of chocolate chips, and the pecan pie had a crispy texture with nuts that matched the sweet filling, making them addictive. From the time the bakery opened, it was incredibly popular, with a constant stream of customer orders. Even when I was little, I would help by carrying boxes of ingredients or delivering pastries to the neighborhood. Anthony, 5 years younger than me, wasn't interested in the family business. He preferred playing video games, which is typical for a kid. As for me, starting around 6th grade, I began learning how to make pastries from Garden. I remember those times as incredibly fun. However, Lisa and Anthony often looked down on us. Lisa always treated my mother and me harshly. Garden was humorous and usually had a bright, smiling demeanor. But his attitude changed drastically when he was in the workshop. He was a strict yet kind mentor to me. He would take my small hands and carefully teach me the delicate beauty and excellence of pastries. I loved the time spent making pastries with Garden more than anything. However, Lisa didn't like this.
Why are you teaching our precious recipes to an outsider like him? Teach them to Anthony instead.
Anthony, the pampered kid he was, would pout. No way. I'm going to play video games with my friends now. Since Anthony had just started 1st grade, it was understandable. I was in 6th grade, so I had the patience to learn. Anyway, Lisa hated seeing me in the workshop. At such times, Garden would say seriously,
Aaron has great potential. I want to train him as a pastry chef here.
but Lisa would immediately frown.
Then let him train at another bakery. I don't want him here. What if he steals our recipes?
He would laugh off her words. If he's that talented, he might surpass me one day. I felt my heart race as I listened. To be spoken of like that. I wanted Garden to recognize me someday. Meanwhile, Lisa would openly scowl.
Stop it. Anthony is going to inherit the bakery. Why do we have to do so much for the housekeeper's kid?
After these arguments, Lisa would always pout and say, "Teach Anthony how to work." Garden would sigh and reply, "When he gets older and wants to learn, I'll teach him." Even as we got older, Anthony never came to the workshop, so I was the only one learning from Garden. Yet Anthony always saw me as a rival, probably because Lisa fed him all sorts of things. "Hey, don't steal our recipes, you thief. Just because Dad is kind doesn't mean you can take advantage. Get out of here, servant." Angry, I lunged at Anthony. But my mother, who happened to be there, rushed over. She clung to me, shouting, "Hold on." I was in middle school, but I got beaten up by 9-year-old Anthony with a stick. Later, my mother tearfully apologized to me. While tending to my wounds, she kept saying, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry," which made me cry too. Garden scolded Anthony and apologized to us, but Lisa coldly said, "If you're unhappy, you can leave." Time passed. My mother, who had been saving money while working at the bakery, rented an apartment nearby. We finally moved out from living at the bakery. Of course, she continued working there, tirelessly like a busy bee. When I graduated high school, I decided without hesitation to work at Sugar and Sweet Bakery. In fact, I had already been working as an apprentice during high school. Garden was eager for me to join, but Lisa strongly opposed it. Looking back, Lisa was always tough and strict with the hardworking Garden. She was probably proud of being the only daughter of the owner of the bakery where Garden had trained. She felt she had granted him marriage, so she often treated Garden condescendingly in front of others. Garden had started working right after high school to become a pastry chef. But even about that, she would say, "Anthony is different from you. He's going to college," in a snide tone. While Garden stayed up all night working on new creations, Lisa would enjoy herself at concerts and parties. During her absences, it was my mother who took care of Anthony and Garden. Anthony aside, Garden was deeply grateful to my mother. Lisa couldn't do housework, so before my mother came, Garden cooked all 3 meals himself. When I turned 30 and was finally recognized as a skilled pastry chef, my mother, relieved, began to fall ill more frequently. I won the gold medal at a pastry competition. "From now on, I'll make things easier for you, Mom." She smiled at my words and whispered, "I'm already happy enough." Eventually, she couldn't get out of bed, and I took her to the hospital, worried. The doctor said, "She doesn't have much time left. She's been through a lot." It was a shock. I cried secretly and put on a smile in front of her. "How many days like that did I go through?" Mom said, "I've had a happy life," and with a smile, she passed away peacefully. Garden took care of almost everything for the funeral, and I held back my tears and managed to get through it as the host. It was the summer when I was 33. But as soon as the ceremony ended, Lisa came in yelling.
Again, why do we have to do so much for them? They're not even family.
Lisa lashed out at Garden. Perhaps, fed up with everything, Garden left the bakery. Even after 12 years, his whereabouts were unknown. With the head of the bakery gone, Lisa panicked. I was the only one Garden had thoroughly taught how to make pastries. Lisa had been looking for an excuse to get rid of me, but with her husband gone, she had no choice but to rely on me. At that time, Anthony was enjoying his leisurely college life. At 28, he was still in college due to taking gap years and failing classes. At one point, Lisa said, "This is too embarrassing," and sent him to study in Japan for a year. He didn't learn much and just had fun. Her husband was missing, and her only son was useless. Lisa became increasingly hysterical. Despite this, Anthony would occasionally drop by the bakery to ask Lisa for money. Seeing me working in the kitchen, he would say, "The money from the pastries you make so diligently. I'll spend it like water. Keep working hard making those pastries. After all, I'm the heir to this bakery. Eventually, I'll boss you around. I don't know where Dad went, but when I get serious, he won't have a place here anymore. You'll be my hands and feet." Lisa would screech along with him.
That's right. You're only able to get by because my husband whimsically decided to teach you how to make pastries. Normally, you would have been kicked out long ago. Once my husband comes back, you won't be able to stay here.
Lisa clearly didn't want to see my face, but Anthony had a different idea. "Mom, no, I won't kick him out. I want to show him the difference in our status." She thought for a moment and nodded.
All right, then you can do as you like, Anthony, but he has to sign a contract. If he leaves here, he must never make pastries again. We can't have our recipes going to another bakery.
Even with such humiliating conditions, I had no choice but to say yes. Anthony finally graduated from college at 29, to the astonishment and disbelief of those around him. Afterward, at Lisa's insistence, he became the second-generation owner. I was 35 and had married a woman I met through my hiking hobby, building a modest family. I continued working at the bakery, waiting for Garden to return. Meanwhile, Lisa faced a dilemma. With Anthony becoming the new owner, she hoped she wouldn't have to work as hard in her missing husband's stead, but the reality was different. Moreover, she still found my presence unpleasant and thought of various reasons to kick me out. But Anthony stubbornly insisted, "I want to keep Aaron here to work him hard." Additionally, Anthony barely studied pastries, nor was he capable of managing the business. What did he even do in college? Her frustration grew. Anthony, in name only as the owner, frequently left the shop. Lisa continued handling the finances, ordering supplies, and managing big client relationships, never getting a moment's rest. Without me, the pastries wouldn't be up to standard. The other bakers lacked skill. Lisa's stress only continued to build.
I had eagerly awaited Anthony's graduation, but now he rarely shows up at the shop. Why?
She ordered Carol, one of the employees, to follow him. It turned out he was spending all his time at a nightclub near the station. He was obsessed with a woman named Tiffany and visited her constantly. "I'm the owner of a prestigious bakery. If you marry me, I'll make sure you live in luxury. So, let's be together, Tiffany." Tiffany would laugh and brush him off, and the other women didn't take him seriously. But Anthony was dead serious. When Lisa found out, she was furious, steam practically coming out of her ears.
What are you doing? Neglecting the shop?
Anthony was not one to back down. "You should be grateful I took over the shop. The profits are mine." 2 years passed like this. It was amazing that the store hadn't gone under. We employees worked desperately to keep it afloat. All the while, Gordon's whereabouts remained unknown. This bakery held memories of my mother, and I was determined to protect it to honor Garden, my mentor. One day, Anthony came back from the casino, having lost again. He still frequented the nightclub he loved. Tiffany had returned to her hometown, but now he was infatuated with a woman named Jasmine. Anthony was now 40. Lisa wanted him to settle down, but he just laughed at her. Finally, she reached her limit.
Aaron, you've been acting like my husband's apprentice, so I've let you work here, but I can't stand to see your face anymore.
Her frustration with Anthony was now directed at me. While I was stunned, she said,
The best-selling pastries are still the ones my husband created. Even if they sell, it's not thanks to you.
But I was the only one at the bakery who could recreate Gordon's recipes. Anthony jumped on her bandwagon. "You're fired for 0 sales."
Well said, Anthony. Finally, we can get rid of this dead weight.
I was stunned. Lisa's attitude was expected, but Anthony had always wanted to keep me around to work me hard. Yet both of them looked relieved. True, the pastries Garden created, like the chocolate chip cookies and pecan pie, still outperformed my own creations. I had always wanted to introduce my original pastries, but I bit my lip in frustration. I had suggested ideas several times, But Lisa always said, "This isn't your shop. Don't get cocky," and dismissed them. So it was decided that I would be kicked out of the bakery.
Just as I said before, you'll have to sign a contract. You must promise never to make pastries again.
Lisa laughed wickedly. Reluctantly, I signed the document. Meanwhile, at the bakery, Anthony shared his ideas with the employees and his mother. Traditional pastries like cookies are outdated and not stylish, and selling them for $1.20 each is too cheap. I've got an idea. Let's renovate the shop and add a cafe corner. Lisa was surprised.
A cafe corner in this bakery?
Anthony continued confidently. You see, famous coffee chains make a huge profit. It's not just the coffee, but also the fraps and smoothies that are popular and expensive. Some drinks cost around $7 to $10 each. Instead of selling $1.20 cookies, let's get people to pay $7 for a drink.
A $7 drink is a huge profit.
Lisa also fully supported the idea, saying it's trendy and stylish. They didn't care that the employees were struggling with how to make pastries without me. They immediately decided to renovate the shop. Meanwhile, I was left devastated, having lost my only means of making a living as a pastry chef. But then, something unexpected happened. I was playing with my son, Adam, when my wife called me. She informed me that someone was waiting to see me, causing me to stop playing with a toy car with my son. The person she had let into the house started, "I heard you left the bakery." To my surprise, they continued, "I'm opening a pastry shop called Crumbs & Company, 2 doors down from the bakery, and would love for you to join us." The person in front of me was the owner of Crumbs & Co. My wife smiled as she brought in some coffee. Crumbs & Company had been making waves at that time with its hit products, frequently featured on TV and online. This was an incredible opportunity. However, I told the owner about the contract with the bakery, honestly explaining the situation. The owner initially frowned, but then said, "I have an idea," and whispered something to me. It felt like the fog before my eyes had cleared. "That's great. Let's do it. Thank you very much." After joining Crumbs & Company, the rival company of Sugar and Sweet Bakery, I immediately set to work on developing a new pastry. It was called Coffee Pie, a pastry that pairs perfectly with coffee, featuring a crispy shell filled with milk bean paste and whipped cream. When the owner tried it, he was astonished. The other employees loved it too, and we decided to launch with Coffee Pie as our flagship product. The rivalry between the rapidly rising Crumbs & Co. and the renovated Sugar and Sweet Bakery with its new cafe corner was about to begin. When we opened, Coffee Pie was a huge hit. Customers loved its perfect pairing with coffee, and there was always a long line outside the shop. On the other hand, the Sugar and Sweet Bakery had created a flashy cafe corner, advertising fruit fraps and fruit smoothies with banners and signs, waiting for customers. People walking by were surprised at the change, saying, "Did they stop selling pastries?" Customers coming to the bakery still wanted the traditional chocolate chip cookies or pecan pie. When they tried to take them to go, Anthony would push, "We have a new cafe corner. You can eat here too." Out of curiosity, some customers went inside. But without any prompting from the staff, they would only eat the pastries and leave. So, Lisa and Anthony had to encourage them. "Please try our drinks too." When shown the menu, customers would look puzzled. "What's a frap? Does it go with cookies?" Anthony would fumble for answers. "You'll understand once you try it. It's cold, sweet, and delicious, like a drinkable ice cream." But before he could finish explaining, the customers would say, "No, no, cookies go with coffee." Others complained, "Why don't you have coffee? If there's no coffee or tea, I'll just take them home and eat them." The cafe only offered expensive fraps or smoothies, nothing else. Fraps don't pair well with cookies or pie, but Anthony was blinded by the potential profit and forced the limited menu. He even removed coffee and tea from the menu because they couldn't justify charging $7 for them. Customers, still coming for the pastries, were disappointed. "Fine, I'll just take them home and have coffee there," they said, leaving with their bags of pastries.
What's going on? On social media, young people love smoothies.
Lisa grumbled. But Anthony didn't give up. Not yet. I've packed the menu with trendy items from the internet. Young people will definitely come. Anthony's eyes sparkled with anticipation. So, did they manage to attract the young customers they had targeted? They had renovated the shop to become a trendy cafe popular on social media, aiming for teens and young adults. But for some reason, the young people just walked past. Why aren't they coming in? What's going on? Don't young people like flashy fraps? I even added fruit, and we have smoothies too. Anthony fretted. The employees knew the answer. It was simple. The interior design was a disaster. Originally, Garden had chosen calming wallpaper and placed handmade, warm decorations, creating a perfect atmosphere. But under Lisa's influence, it became terrible.
Social media appeal is crucial. Young people love sharing on social media.
Lisa spoke confidently, but the employees could barely suppress their laughter. While it was true that referencing trendy social media was a good idea, the renovation had such poor taste that even the interior designers asked, "Are you sure about this?" The shop was now gaudy with flashy gold decor, making it look nothing like a pastry shop. This was entirely Lisa's taste. I see. So, your vision was like a Disney princess castle in gold, right, Mom? Surprisingly, Anthony didn't seem to mind.
Exactly. The people popular on social media all get likes on their Disney posts.
At first, young people avoided the gaudy shop, calling it a weird bakery. But soon, the rumor of the weird shop spread. People started coming to take photos of the bizarre, tasteless decor with their smartphones, sharing the pictures with friends and laughing about it. It became a kind of curiosity, a place to see for the novelty. Though this brought in young visitors, not a single frap or cookie was sold. Moreover, regular customers complained. Why did they make the decor so garish? It ruins the cookies. The harshest blow came from online reviews. Both the chocolate chip cookies and pecan pie taste different worse. I won't buy them again. As a result, the bakery sales plummeted quickly. Pastries with style and taste are at Crumbs and Company now, said former regulars who once bought gift pastries from the bakery, all of whom turned away. A month had passed since I left the bakery. As usual, Crumbs and Company was bustling with business. Customers lined up outside for coffee pie. The owner was so pleased, they joked, "I might just give everyone a bonus." Then Anthony appeared. I instinctively braced myself. But to my surprise, Anthony came to me in tears. "Come back, please." I was stunned and speechless at the unexpected turn of events. "Please, the bakery is in trouble." The memory of their mistreatment flashed through my mind. I decided to hit back. "Can you pay me 25 times my salary?" Anthony was dumbfounded, his face turning pale. He was momentarily taken aback, but quickly retorted. "What are you talking about? You broke your promise. Why are you working at a pastry shop? You signed a contract with my mom saying you wouldn't make pastries anymore. I'll sue you for breach of contract." He shouted angrily, breathing heavily. But I remained calm. "Oh, I'm not making pastries. I'm working here as a pastry coordinator. For example, I came up with the idea for coffee pie, and I give advice on perfecting the flavors. So, everything is made by the pastry chefs here. I don't do any of the actual baking." Anthony's face twisted in frustration. He gritted his teeth, clearly annoyed. Just then, a woman came running towards us. It was Carol. She was a long-time employee at the bakery and had been good friends with my mother. Until the previous month, she had been my colleague at the bakery. Out of breath, she shouted,
Guys, I just saw the previous owner, Gordon, around the corner. It looks like he's finally back.
"What?" Anthony, hearing that his father, whom he hadn't seen since he was 28, had returned, suddenly perked up. "Dad's back. I don't need you anymore. Watch, I'll crush Crumbs and Company and laugh at your tears." With newfound enthusiasm, he declared, "I'm heading back to the shop." I need Dad to start on a new creation right away. As if the earlier desperation never happened, he quickly left. I wanted to see Garden too, but I couldn't show my face at the bakery. I watched Anthony's back with mixed feelings. Carol, who had been silently listening to our exchange, suddenly said something unbelievable.
The previous owner, Gordon, looks just like you.
I couldn't understand what she meant. She then whispered,
It seems you never heard anything from Emily.
and then she revealed an astonishing secret. Finally, Garden returned to the bakery. Seeing the gaudy renovations and the lack of customers, he looked saddened. Is this really my old shop? As he stood there in shock, Lisa rushed out from inside.
This must be a joke. Why are you here now?
For a moment, sparks flew as they glared at each other. Where's Aaron? Lisa was furious that Gordon's first words weren't about the family.
I kicked him out, that useless guy, and then he went and joined our rival company. What an ungrateful wretch.
Gordon's expression hardened at her words. No wonder the shop is failing. You've all ruined this place. Anthony, who had just arrived, shouted from the side. How dare you criticize when you abandoned us? Anthony, call Aaron. We'll talk after that. Garden sat down on the tacky gold sofa, crossed his arms, and wore a stern expression. Lisa grumbled, What is the meaning of this? And reluctantly sent an employee to fetch me. I arrived at the bakery, my face pale and my steps unsteady like a ghost. Gordon's hair was now white, and he had more wrinkles, but his kind eyes were unchanged. Garden, he looked at me, his mouth trembling. Aaron, I've put you through so much pain. I can never atone enough for what I did to you and your mother. As he spoke, tears streamed down his face.
What on earth are you talking about?
Who cares about Aaron? Just create a hit product. Garden wiped his tears and looked at his family. Aaron here is my son, my eldest. I'm giving the bakery to him, and I'm divorcing you, Lisa. The sudden announcement left everyone stunned, as if the air had been sucked out of the room.
No.
Lisa muttered in a barely audible voice. Anthony said, Stop joking, but his words lacked conviction. Trembling, I asked, Is this true? Garden nodded deeply. The truth is, your mother, Emily, and I were childhood friends. We were even engaged, but I chose the path of a pastry chef and asked her to wait until I was established. Emily understood, but her parents forced her into another engagement. I couldn't believe it. My mother had never told me any of this. Emily got married, and I tried my best to forget her. But by then, she was already pregnant with you, Aaron. She faced many hardships in her marriage, and eventually decided to divorce, taking you with her. With nowhere else to go, she came to me. Lisa was shocked by the truth she had never known, and started screaming hysterically.
You lied to me. How could you do something so horrible?
But did you ever do anything for me? You always looked down on me and mocked me. That's right. My mother always took care of Garden and Anthony. So, this means Aaron is my older brother? Garden looked at Anthony with a bitter expression. Yes, he inherited all my talent and skill. Frankly, it's hard to believe you're my son. The shocking truth left Lisa and Anthony pale.
Divorce. Are you telling us to leave?
What are we supposed to do now? You've already spent more than enough of the bakery's money as you pleased. You don't need any alimony, do you? Gordon's words sent them into a panic. This is unacceptable. We never expected this. I thought I would be the second-generation owner of the bakery. If you're the owner, the shop will only go downhill. From now on, Aaron and I will rebuild the bakery. You two are no longer needed, Garden declared firmly.
Lies, lies. I don't believe it. I can't be the one getting kicked out.
I did everything Mom told me to do. Why do I have to suffer for this? Hey, this is your fault. Anthony directed his misplaced anger at his mother. Stop it. She's still your mother. Gordon's stern voice made Anthony hesitate. Then what should I do? He glared at his mother with a bitter expression. The tension was palpable. Unable to bear the situation, Lisa finally broke down, sobbing uncontrollably.
If this was going to happen, I wish I never had you. Please, just save me.
Her selfish cries made everyone recoil in disgust. And you call yourself a parent? I should be the one crying. Anthony said so, holding his head and sinking to the floor. The chaos inside the shop quickly spread to the customers. It didn't take long for the news to become the talk of the town. Garden, having returned, apologized to the regular customers. I will never leave the shop again. From now on, my eldest son Aaron and I will devote ourselves to this bakery, so please continue to support us. Garden, always loved by the customers, received warm words of encouragement. We're counting on you, they said. After some time, I amicably left Crumbs and Company and returned to the bakery where my father awaited. Lisa and Anthony, stripped of everything by Garden, were truly kicked out without a penny. Over the decades, Lisa had freely spent the shop's money, and Anthony had taken substantial amounts as well. So, when they were told they would have to repay that money if they didn't agree to the divorce, they reluctantly complied with Gordon's demands. But I'm your son. Isn't it cruel to abandon me? I'm disowning you. I don't need someone useless, Anthony persisted. At least give me some support. This made Garden burst into laughter. Support is usually paid until the child can work for themselves at 20. How old are you? Have some shame. Laughed at in front of everyone. Even Lisa blushed with embarrassment. Don't ever show your face to Aaron or me again. And so, Lisa and Anthony found themselves with nowhere to go. Lisa's parents had both passed away, and the family shop, the pastry house, had already been taken over by a disciple. There was no going back for them.
What are we going to do? We don't even have a home.
Annoyed, Anthony snapped. You're such a useless parent.
What? Is that how you talk to your mother?
Lisa, in a fit of hysteria, lunged at Anthony, and they got into a brawl right there on the street. It got so bad that someone called the police. They were severely reprimanded at the station and left in disgrace. In the end, Anthony quickly abandoned his mother and disappeared. Left alone, Lisa had no choice but to return to the pastry house, her former family home. Swallowing her pride, she begged for help and managed to secure a position as a live-in housekeeper. She was bad at everything she did, constantly making mistakes and failing to grasp the basics. When scolded, she always made excuses. Her reputation was terrible, and it seemed only a matter of time before she was fired. I'm sorry for all the hardship you've endured. Garden, or rather, my father, apologized to me. I did wrong by Emily too. I never knew all this time. That doesn't make it right, though. After the funeral, Carol handed me a letter. She said it was from Emily. So, that's why Carol knew so much. I was happy to learn you were my son. But after Emily passed away, I realized I still loved her deeply. I couldn't bear a life without her. So I left. It was irresponsible of me. I'm truly sorry. I shook my head. But I'm glad you came back. I've explained everything to the owner of Crumbs and Company, and I'll be returning to the bakery. Dad, let's work together from now on. Tears welled up in my father's eyes. Seeing him, tears started streaming down my own face. My mother used to say she was happy. She probably felt content just being near my father. The two of us, thinking of her, clasped hands. Let's rebuild this place together. And actually, there's already a third generation. My son, Adam. You have to meet him. Hearing this, my father's face lit up. I've become a grandfather without even knowing it. That makes me so happy. He smiled, his face wrinkling with joy. Rebuilding the bakery won't be easy. But no matter how hard it gets, I want to give it my all. To bring back the memories of my mother working there with a smile.